You can't have people making decisions about the future of the world who are scientifically illiterate. That's a recipe for disaster. And I don't mean just whether a politician is scientifically literate, but people who vote politicians into office. I have a good brain on me, but I've never really used it when it came to making decisions about love, which has been a blessing and a curse. The way you continue to be a successful business is you don't wait for the car to go off the cliff. You have to manage yourself, and make sure you do it in the right way so you are not making decisions in crisis. While we women dilly-dally, making decisions, leaving jobs half done, forgetting where we've put the house keys while we water the Hoover and leave the laundry in the dishwasher, men, like blinkered horses, look straight ahead, oblivious to peripheral vision, where a discarded pile of wet towels might have caught their eye. Developing games for the PC and consoles is all about everything and the kitchen sink. In many ways, you don't have design decisions to make. You do it all. So I enjoy going back to making decisions about what's important as I'm working on a game. When men and women, boys and girls, are denied the right to education, the right to own land, the access to basic services like healthcare and clean water, a fair price for the crops they grow, a fair wage for the work they do, or the right to be part of making decisions that affect them, the result is poverty. In making policy designed with copyright in mind, you end up making decisions about whether other important technologies, such as privacy-enhancing or file search technologies, should be encouraged or discouraged. A collision is happening between creativity and protecting IP. I think that's important for all ages, to not be afraid of being an individual. I grew up on my own, as an only child. So early on I think I was quite capable of making decisions by myself and being an individual. Digital is really two things. It refers to a set of technologies, everything from artificial intelligence to the use of e-commerce. But digital is really about a different way of working, of making decisions, of partnering and reaching your clients, and so it's also about how you do things. When making decisions about people, stop confusing experience with evidence. Just as owning a car doesn't make you an expert on engines, having a brain doesn't mean you understand psychology. We are doing everything we can to protect the food supply, and I can tell you that we're making decisions based upon sound science and good public policy, given the circumstances that we are now in. I'm the glue that keeps it all together. I'm the nucleus of an entertainment family. My day-to-day is making decisions to keep life above water. The direction of the country isn't controlled by one person on top making decisions. It's a mass movement of people making a lot of individual decisions that add up to something broader. All models have faults. That doesn't mean you can't use them as tools for making decisions. The government would be making decisions about what type of care is given, what procedures can be performed, and the kind of medications prescribed. It would be a very profound change from the ideal to which we aspire. Parts of you die with every decision you have to make. It becomes about making decisions between bad decisions and worse decisions. So many people would like to have guidance from God because obviously, if you have a word from God, it's the best possible thing. But they don't relate that to life as a whole. Often they want guidance as a way of opting out of the responsibility of making decisions. I don't think I have the demeanor to be a politician. I'm used to making decisions and to a certain extent being in charge. We should use prudence when making decisions as to what is best for us, our families and our communities based on the information we have. You always worry about films when you hear about them making decisions after announcements are made. I believe that doing the right thing will not only create the best culture and the best product, but you'll also make the most money, even if you're making decisions that lose you money in the short term. An expert is someone who has succeeded in making decisions and judgment simpler through knowing what to pay attention to and what to ignore. When it comes to making decisions, I will come down on the side of Nebraska every time. If I have to choose between the White House and the farmhouse, I choose the farmhouse. With Lady Antebellum, there's always pressure. It's hard for commerce not to rear its ugly head when you're making decisions. I always try to stay methodical and logical with everything I do, playing cricket and making decisions. Launching a startup, you need to get a lot done quickly. Every day is different. Everyone pitches in with everything. It's easy for the founding team to say, we're flexible. We all help out with everything. But when it comes to making decisions, that flexibility can spell inefficiency and disaster. I never thought of punk rock as the absolute act of rebellion for the sake of rebellion. There's a lot of that in there, but for me I think punk rock was always about questioning things and making decisions for yourself, which is a great message to pass on to your kids. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you get off on sometimes. What matters most is getting off. You cannot make progress without making decisions. Making decisions quickly isn't for everyone, and I've had my disasters, but overall, it works for me. I'm generally slow to anger, quick to forgive, and I take in information before making decisions. So no matter how controversial the decision, my general demeanor is to put on white lab coat and gloves and look at the evidence, weigh the arguments and see what makes sense. We need to have women in more powerful positions that are making decisions, so when that 10-year-old girl is looking up and wondering, what can I do and what do I want to be when I get older, she has the opportunity to do and be whatever she wants. Management manages by making decisions and by seeing that those decisions are implemented. Mindfulness means being aware of how you're deploying your attention and making decisions about it, and not letting the tweet or the buzzing of your BlackBerry call your attention. In abandoning the understanding that things, services, goods, wars, and houses, have costs, we risk becoming infantilized, incapable of making decisions about government or finance, and perhaps above all about the environment, the well-being of the planet upon which we depend and which our children will inherit from us. In Tintin, it's like a live-action role. You're living and breathing and making decisions for that character from page 1 to page 120, the whole emotional arc. In an animated movie, it's a committee decision. There are 50 people creating that character. You're responsible for a small part. Another thing, despite my youthful appearance, I am quite capable of making decisions. In Iroquois society, leaders are encouraged to remember 7 generations in the past and consider 7 generations in the future when making decisions that affect the people. I come from this macho Italian neighborhood. When I was 13, during those real vulnerable, impressionable years, and a boy starts becoming a man, to make that transition, and you start making decisions, and you start developing virtue and principles, I never made the transition. What I really enjoy about writing for orchestras is realizing that, and it's kind of self-evident, but the fact that they are 48 individuals. It's not, a preset on a keyboard. It's all these people who have opinions and who are making decisions about how to play. But when others suggested that the poor should not simply be the objects of these programs but also the subjects, that they should be actively involved in shaping the programs, making decisions about how to spend the money etc., some of the previous supporters reconsidered. My authoritarian and quick manner of making decisions led me to have serious problems and to be accused of being ultra-conservative. I have never been a right-winger. It was my authoritarian way of making decisions that created problems. People who are great at making decisions in the face of uncertainty have great judgment. I think most of us are raised with preconceived notions of the choices we're supposed to make. We waste so much time making decisions based on someone else's idea of our happiness. What will make you a good citizen or a good wife or daughter or actress? Nobody says, just be happy, go be a cobbler or go live with goats. Since we replaced the compulsory military draft with an all-volunteer force in 1973, our nation has been making decisions about wars without worry over who fights them. I sincerely believe that reinstating the draft would compel the American public to have a stake in the wars we fight as a nation. I love producing shows. And so when you're on a show where other people are making decisions you don't necessarily agree with it, after a while you start to feel like a passenger. I think everyone who makes movies should be forced to do television, because you have to finish. You have to get it done. And there are a lot of decisions made just for the sake of making decisions. You do something because it's efficient and because it gets the story told and it connects to the audience. There are a lot of things going on with my life right now that don't just have to do with career, so I have a hard time making decisions about work. That's really a luxury problem. It can't be stressed enough that in order to produce great graphics, you have to have a good product and a good client capable of making decisions. And it's important to remember we are all responsible, or certainly the elected members in Washington of both parties are responsible for making decisions and choices to ensure that the economy grows and jobs are created. The hardest position to go from high school to college and college to the NBA is playing the point guard position, because you're running the team. You're making decisions. You've got to communicate. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.